Hello and welcome to the Blue House Bull Session. Happy to be with you here on this gorgeous, gorgeous Wednesday, the 5th of March. It's been a minute. How you been? What's new? What's been exciting? What's been happening?
Everybody's been sick.
Oh, man. I absolutely get that. I'm fortunate enough that we have a small household, but you know, the cats are sick. The cats have all been sneezing. I'm pretty sure they've got some kind of upper respiratory thing. And it's been getting better, but
I was going through stuff on my phone, and I randomly remembered I had an air quality app installed, Air Breeze or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
From when air was real bad a little bit ago.
The Canada wildfires, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't remember what it was even called. Air Now. But I opened it just randomly, and it's like 120. It almost at red, and they're like, sensitive people should. I'm like, oh, that's why I felt like shit the last couple days.
That would do it, because I know, like, you're particularly sensitive to it, too.
And I'm outside where all the shit is.
Yeah.
I'm not in my little protective bubble of a house.
Oh, man. That's no fun. So, yeah, it's just been faces full of cat sneezes. And I hope that everyone's feeling better on your side of things soon.
No, it's more everybody's been sick at work, so they haven't been there, or they've been coming in doing a few hours and then I'm gonna come in and try, and I
have tried, it did not. Mm-hmm.
I got like 2 hours of oomph in me, and then my battery's empty. I gotta go. I cannot stand upright anymore. So it falls on the rest of us, and also picking up shifts, and also picking up longer shifts, and also it's apparently audit season, so it's all this extra work, and management freaking out about things and finding extra things to nitpick, and they're apparently training me on new things to scan.
Interesting.
And my boss. Do you remember the story of how I ended up 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon? I ended up getting my job
Mm-hmm.
at Wikia because I played too many video games.
Yep.
And then Galen was like, "We're tired of doing your delete requests. We're making you an admin so you can just do your own shit." I kept finding stuff at the store that's like overstocked because the minimum order quantity was wrong and it thought we had too many or not enough. And so like we were ordering like 6 pallets and we should only have the order should be at 2 and not 6. And so he's like, "Here, I'm training you how to use the scanner. Just start grabbing one of these at the beginning of your shift. If you see one of these, just go and fix it. I
Yeah.
trust you." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh God, it's happening again."
It really is, honestly. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, there are technically worse fates that could happen, but it's still impressive. It's why I'm happy to have you on the team. I wish I could pay you like a fair salary for it because you're an absolute asset to any organization you're in.
They're showing me how to run the sticker machine this week
Nice.
because I keep finding and complaining that there's things on the shelf that don't have stickers. So I don't know where to put them. They're like, "Oh, go put it where the other ones is." I'm like, "Until we sell out of that thing." And then there's a take the thing and put it in the nothing,
Yeah.
the unlabeled nothing spot.
So they
And you're
are
like,
enabling
"Okay,
you to fix your own problem.
here's the thing. You scan it, you hit this button and it comes out, and then put it on the shelf.
Yeah.
If it's in the wrong place, somebody else will figure it out. And if the people figure it out, that means they care. Guess what? Chances are they probably don't care. Because otherwise there would be a tag there."
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is so messed up.
That's infuriating to see, and I hope someone recognizes what's gone into doing something about it.
Also, I found out my suspicion was correct.
Uh-oh.
We have it's Schrodinger's inventory. We do not actually know at any given moment how much of a thing actually exists in the store once it goes on the shelf. We can count it, and then we know for a brief period how many there were when we counted it.
Yeah.
But we never know how many we actually have.
I do understand that you can't live measure loss. I get that part. But everything else is run through some kind of electronic system. You know?
And the thing is the system automatically deducts sales at the end of the day. So it knows if I scan it and tell it we have 10 of these exist on the shelf, and the store and the sales system records that we sold 2 of them, it will deduct 2 out of that and will lower that to 8, which is how the auto replenishment system works.
Yeah.
But if I go and I say we have 0 of these because there's a hole on the shelf, and I assert we have 0, and then the sales for the day deducts the 2 that we sold, we now have an inventory count of -2. Because our inventory system and our sales system are 2 entirely different things, the data only occasionally flows one way or the other.
Why?
And I'm explaining this to my boss that, like, why this is bad.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm a programmer. You see objects on the shelf. I see data points that should be in a database and tracked and all of this.
Yeah.
This is insane.
And
no
somehow
business. It's a cacophony of chaos. It's Woodstock, but all jazz.
Hey! I failed to see the problem with that. Speaking of databases, our friend Jackson has been talking about databases recently and moving his new project to work into one. So I got to recommend, once again, my favorite book, The Manga Guide to Databases. It's really like an ideal way to get into it, and it gives you a real world is generous, but it gives you a realistic scenario when you would need to know that stuff and how it's modeled in that situation, and explains why it's done that way. Teaches you about the first, second, third normal forms, you know?
There's a Humble Bundle book set, Computer Science the Fun Way.
Yeah.
It's a No Starch Press set.
Oh, yeah.
Their books. But one of them in there was data structures, which everybody always looks at that in terms of, like, oh, I'm going to make an object. It's like, no. Think of that in terms of databases, and you will see things very differently.
Yeah. When you start to learn about how to represent things in your head. Speaking of which, that's another topic I'm just going to ADHD my way into and segue rapidly with no context. So, Godot, the game engine, I have been playing with that a lot recently. As a matter of fact, I did, last week I did a dev stream because we didn't end up doing podcasts last week. And I was showing off some of what I'd been working in. No, it's turned off. I forgot to delete the thing. It's supposed to auto-delete, but I think it missed it because it, et cetera, et cetera. You know what? We're doing that right now. Where's my viewer rewards? Power-ups and channel points. Manage blah, 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 blah. Okay, get out of here. They're all done. I'm eating your points. Ha! That'll teach you. Anyway, where was I? Talking about Godot. Yeah, that's what I was doing.
I had the pop-up open. You did it. Oops, JRDis has changed its rewards requirements. Please try again. It fucking live updated.
Good. Hey, Red, we love you. I'm going to speak on Fuzzy's behalf. We love you bunches. So, I'm starting to understand how things are modeled better in that engine. And it allows... Go ahead.
You're not using the visual editor. You're just like coding it all in VS Code against the will of the Godot engine, right?
Somewhere between the two.
Okay.
I'm doing most of it in code from VS Code, but I'm connected to the editor's backend because it's got the debugger and everything. The extension for VS Code is really nice.
Oh, okay.
And if I have the editor open and code open, I can go edit code in a good code editor that also is, connected to Copilot. But I still have the visual editor available. And a lot of times what I will do is I will make something in the visual editor to verify that it behaves the way I want. Then I will delete that object and recreate it in code. Or I will build, and this is the part that took a little getting used to because of their component model. I will build a scene for each thing in a game and nest scenes. Because when you hear the name scene, you have kind of a visual in mind. And I feel like that's what their original goal was. But it's grown and that thing never got renamed. A scene in Godot is a game object. It should have a much broader, vaguer name than it does. In sushi, every food item is a scene, and every customer is a scene, and every card is a scene.
Did Flash have that problem too?
Yeah. Everything was a movie clip. Everything in Flash was a movie clip, yeah.
Yeah.
We love you too. I hope your day at work goes painlessly as much as it can. But I've been playing around a lot more with that and trying to strike a balance. And I was talking to Jacob the other day about this. Yesterday? Day before yesterday? Within this week, I was talking to Jacob about it. Specifically from the what should we be doing standpoint. And I mentioned to him, and I'll mention to you, that I know what I'm doing right now is not what I should be doing, depending on what my goal is. But the way I'm viewing it is I'm having a lot of fun screwing around. I'm trying to document things as I have ideas for how they should go, as best I can. But right now, I am 100% building one to throw away as I learn how Godot works and as I learn GD script a little better.
Mm-hmm.
Which GD script is Lua meets Python. It's the Lua of Python. It's the Python of JavaScript. GD script is the YAML of JSON.
Technically,
Don't. I mean, go ahead, but
is a subset of JSON.
Man, I don't even know anymore. The point is, GD script is not too difficult to get used to from the various scripting languages I've used, but the way things are named is so strange to me, and I really have a hard time getting used to snake case, and that's what everybody uses. And it's such a tiny little nitpick. But like giant names all in lowercase with a bunch of underscores in between them. Oh, I don't like it.
Well, that's because you work in
one of them .NET languages, one of them enterprise languages.
Yeah.
Where capitalization is used as a shorthand for accessibility.
Oh, what was I working in? I think it was in Python. Like, oh no, it's React. React has that problem too, where like literally if you name something with like capital letters,
yeah,
it's handled entirely differently by the magic engine that does shit, and I'm just like, no.
Don't. It's a good naming convention for us, and one we should try to follow. Don't do it for us. Don't enforce it based on the way I name something.
I think I hate that more than I hate white spaces in Python.
Yeah.
No. The ASCII things that I put in the file should have no relevance on it.
Yeah. And like, I also... It's difficult to convince anybody. I know it's difficult to convince anybody, but we really, as a collective of technical development, etc., we need to pick a standard for comments. And I'm going to vote for C++. I want double slashes for a comment until the end of this line, until you hit an new line character, and /*/ to start and end a block.
Yeah.
I don't want pound signs at the beginning of every line.
The one thing I will say is I've gotten into... This is entirely a bad habit of mine, and it's a personal style. I do a lot of work in PHP.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that because it's basically a thinly veiled wrapper around C, it supports both of those.
Yeah.
It does slashes and also pounds, and I use them both, but for different things. If I am leaving handwritten human prose, I will use a pound sign because I am leaving a permanent comment. If I need to quickly comment out a line of code, I will use 2 slashes because I can hit Control/ on the keyboard and it quotes out that line.
Yeah.
Whatever the basic line. But the default one is actually supposed to be slashes. But this way I can tell what is a comment and what is a commented out line.
Yeah. What is a note to self? What is a temporary disable? What is a piece of marked information?
Because if I grab a bunch of lines and I hit comment out, it will comment, it will / comment out my comments. And if I uncomment them, it will not remove that from the beginning.
Yeah. No, I
but
feel
that's
that.
One of those. It's useful to have, short of using a here doc thing, which should just be illegal.
Mm-hmm. I get that too. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what should be illegal? Underscores at the end of names.
Did you see what he did? Did you see what that
Yes.
so and so did? He changed his name again to write out the word underscore.
That's fine.
No,
I
it's not. I'm going to
applaud the
check
pettiness.
specifically for him. I'm going to check against his original username. I don't care about his global user ID. If his username is not currently his original username.
Okay.
For the rest of us, we'll
inside
check
baseball,
UIDs, but yeah.
we have tools specifically for Let's Cafe built in to do things for us, to let us into things, and it checks against username. And I brought up, hey, we should probably not check against these characters. There are internal unchangeable user IDs in the Twitch system. We should check against those in case somebody renames or just in case things break, because a ID is immutable. It's never going to change. And in the middle of the process of doing that, somebody that shall be somebody that shall not be named Jacob.
A Jacob we won't identify, yeah.
Yes. Went and changed his goddamn username on Twitch, and it broke our shit. And we're like, oh. So we were trying to find all the places where we had that name hard-coded, and we were updating, and that's when I said, no, let's change to ID so you can just change it willy-nilly, and it checks against ID 1234 and not uber fuzzy. And no, that's not actually my ID. But it does that. And then he keeps changing it. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. We don't have to update it anymore.
Yeah, but I still like the idea that we should make his tied to his previous username. And if his ID matches, then we check his username. And if his username doesn't match, we format his hard drive. I mean, block his attempt to connect to the custom character injector. Which, by the way, I need to talk to you about this weekend.
Okay.
I have plans I would like to do sometime soonish related to that. We've been making progress on it though, yeah.
I have a bunch of tickets in on it.
Sweet. Yeah, I need to get updates on those, and I need to get back on the character editor too. But we have both. Well, you've been making big progress, and I've been coming up and like sweeping up behind you and patting you on the back. You've done all the advancements recently, and I very much appreciate. But
here, I have an idea. Somebody else fix the math.
I did push out a new beta build, and
Yay!
Indy was playing it a little bit as part of her Next Fest thing. And she found the same inventory bug that you did, but I had that fixed now. The hovering on a no recipe thing, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know when you had pushed it out after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a couple more things I want to do and push out to the beta branch, and then get our lovely test team to beat on it. But I think we're about ready to turn on cosmetics, because that's an additive thing too. We can always add more of them, but I'm pretty happy with the selection we have now, as long as people don't find terrible ways to break it. I give it a 30-minute TTP.
I was literally, that's what I was thinking, like, how do I say this out? You're like, what's the TTP to this?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I had a similar problem. I was thinking about this. Another project I've been working on for a friend of mine, Allie. I guess it's not really for her. I've been working on this, and it's inspired by something that she'd said. Is a cross-stitch together. Here is a web link you can go to do a cross-stitch puzzle or cross-stitch thing with other people through the web. And because of that, specifically, because of the TTP factor, I spent nearly an hour trying to figure out how to render a phallus in a cross stitch. And it takes a significant amount of effort to make it look recognizable with the way I have it now. You can very easily see it as anything that is not a dwanger if you do a quick and easy one. If you are very dedicated, you can make a large one, but remember, you're working together. Other people are going to cross out your stitches and accidentally end up filling in the whole grid.
So, are you basically making r/place cross stitch?
Yes, but okay, I want to well, you don't pick the colors. The image is predefined. You just put in the stitches. Think of it like a diamond painting.
Oh God, I hate. Oh my
Except, and I yelled about this, and I'm going to yell about it again. The way cross stitch works is you have a grid of canvas that has a bunch of holes in it. And for each square in this grid, there are 4 holes. You stitch diagonally one way, and you stitch diagonally the other way. Right? Makes sense so far. And you can go over or under either way. Every cross stitch program I've seen, and they have a bunch of them on Steam, they're like free cozy cross stitch with downloadable packs of blah 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 blah. Every one of them I've seen, the stitches all go in the same way. They either go right over left or they go left over right. And I said, no, it's 2 distinct actions, and the order they happen in determines that. You know, I was talking to our dear sweet Aunt BJ at dinner on Monday and discussing this. And she says, if you do a project correctly, all of your stitches should go the same way. And I said, I understand that. I get that. If you are organized and methodical, you will end up with all of the stitches going the same way. But consider, you can use that textural change to your advantage. You have the ability to choose to make all the reds go one direction and all the blues go another direction to give it some extra dimension or what have you. And that's what I wanted to afford.
Man. You could. It would take a whole bunch of planning and shit. But you could like effectively encode an extra image just in that like heat, that shimmer of like have an entire sheet of all red stitching, but like the slight differences of the right versus the left have a secondary image in it.
If you view it from the side, the way the light bounces off, you could use that to make outlines of another image. Yes, you could.
It'd be like physically crafting a lenticular image.
Yep. Anyway,
are you gonna cross stitch a stereogram?
Hopefully, in the next week or two, I'm going to have a public beta out. I'm going to send it to Ellie. I'm going to send it to Indy. I'm going to send it to a couple other people who I know that stream, that work on things together on stream, that I think will enjoy it. And I'm probably going to run a few too, where I'll do Deb or whatever, but I'll have the overlay of here's our cross stitch we're doing while we do this. Because I'd like to get that to a public test point soon. And then there's the mining, which I need to get back to that. And then I need to call Alpha this week, because I want to talk to him about some things, because I know we've pushed timelines around, but I still want to try and get stuff together for him.
I warned you.
You did.
Back in October.
You did.
And you're like, it'll be fine. And I'm like, no, dude. It is a very slippery slope. And that compounds very quickly, because I knew you would get pulled into shit like last stream standing and everything else.
Yeah, and I made sure to mention that to him too. I'm just like, I was warned. I want to be honest with you. I was warned. But now even then, like, I still want to make something happen. I still want to make it happen. So we're working on that.
It's a great. His original plan was a really great premise.
His second plan is a really great premise. Hell, I'd love to do them both. I don't know if we'll have them both done in April, but I'd love to have them both.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So we have many projects in the works right now. We have many, many projects in the works. That's another thing I was talking to Jacob about. And I think I mentioned this to you, but I don't know if I've said it out loud publicly. You know, he comes up with the rough prototype and the pitch for his original concept, and I kind of took it and ran diagonally with it. We're both going forward, but I'm going sideways at the same time. And he said, well, I'm not sure if, and I said, cool, no problem. Do what you want to do. Spin it off and do what you want to do. If we end up with the detergent problem, oh goodness, we own 2 amazing tower defense games that are competing against each other.
Detergent problem?
How many laundry detergent brands does Procter & Gamble own?
All of them except the ones that that Unilever doesn't.
So
unless
if we
they are Unilever, I can't remember. Yeah.
If we have 4 competing tower defense games, but we have them all, yeah.
The dog food problem, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're all us. It doesn't matter which one you pick. The money flows back into our pocket. Jacob, if you want to make a game that's very similar to a game I want to make based on your idea, there's nothing saying we can't make them both.
Okay. I know I talked to you about this. I wanted to make a to-do tracker.
Yeah.
For Final Fantasy 14. And I've done it. I did it with Trello very briefly, and then I set up some automation like do a daily, here's my weeklies, and I can move it to done, and I made some automations to move them to reset them at the right times. But I was kind of doing it in a janky way and just like hard coding this card ID to move it back here at this time for, because dailies reset at one time and weeklies reset at another. And like there's different concept of when they reset. I'm like, I could build a little web app to do this. And I was just throwing crap at GPT and I was making this. I had pretty good progress. I had the UI done. I had like the data store. It wasn't being persistent, but that's just, crunch it in a JSON object and put it in local storage, right?
Yeah.
And I needed to get around to do it. And then I'm reading some Reddit post and someone's like, oh, I'm just getting into the game. There's all this stuff to do every week. How do you keep track of it? And everybody's like, there's really only like a handful of things to do and you really don't have to do. By the time it seems like a lot because you can do all those. All these are totally irrelevant to us at the higher end. We don't do them. We do 1 or 2 of those maybe a day if we remember. Sometimes we just skip weeks because we just don't effing care. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter anymore. It says, and someone said, oh, I use this. And it's a little to-do. It's called XIV to-do. And it's a little daily tracker, that daily and weekly tracker that does it. And I'm looking at that. I'm like, that's what I named my goddamn repo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, other than I was trying to style it like a Kanban board just because, I don't know, dumb, this is exactly what I would build.
Yep.
This is, oh my God, this is 95% of what I build. I did it again. I went to go manifest. I manifested something in the past to be created because I wanted to go build it. And like, oh, oops, I found it. It already exists.
Hey, you had a creative Rio. You had a Zen. Doesn't mean the iPod didn't need to exist.
I did not know that Diamond Rio, that PNP 300, was the first MP3 player.
Yeah.
I did not know that for years and years. Like a decade later, they're like, oh, yeah, it was the first one. I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. That's why it was so janky. It's like, yeah, it didn't exist.
They didn't know how to make one before then. Like they could mechanically figure out the pieces, but nobody bothered with the experience because it wasn't a device anyone would have. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was wild. We were on the wild edge of things, man.
It ran on not SD cards. What was the really thin one?
The Sony one, the memory stick?
No, that's like the thumb drive looking one. The real thin.
Yeah.
It was a weird thing, and it was formatted in like this insane format that like nobody understood.
For speed of pulling bits off of it, yeah.
Yeah, basically.
And now we got like M2 drives and everything. Technology, man. We're living in a future.
I saw somebody make a. It's basically like an 8th generation later of the I'm gonna put some electronics in an Altoids tin, and it was. They cut 2 Altoids tin in half the long way so they could make a long Altoids tin, because it was basically a hat for some sort of microboard, not necessarily a Pi or anything, but
a Pi clone, yeah,
a Pi-ish thing for an M2 drive and an audio jack. It was to play MP3 players directly off of an M2 drive, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I had an extra like 32 gig drive, M2 drive that came out of like a laptop or something as an old boot drive that he upgraded. He's like, what do I do with this? Like, you get little enclosures. Like, if I can put it in enclosure, that means they're powered off of 5 volts. That means they could be portable in theory. That means you could store whatever you want. I could put a little MDAC chip on there and put an audio thing on there.
Yep.
And it's fast enough. He could put the full like FLAC files on there, and he just copies, because the raw read off of an M2 drive is fast enough. He doesn't go through the drive controller. It was just pulling the bits off of the drive and plopping them directly into the audio buffer. Just wholesale raw audio. And it was going out. Like, it wasn't even going through the OS.
It's insane.
Like, it's basically raw, uncompressed, insane files, but like he didn't have to read them into memory because it's fast enough. He could just copy whole audio frames off of the M.2 drive into the DAC buffer and send them straight out.
It's so cool. So cool. Man, I don't know. Always wanted to get into building weird hardware stuff.
It's neat when you see new and interesting stuff like that, because it's not anymore. We got complacent with technology. It got slightly better. It got more polished and it got a little faster, but we didn't get anything really new for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, we got better and bigger video cards, but they're effectively doing the same shit we did before.
They just
for the last 15 years. Just
move more triangles faster, yeah.
Yeah. Like, RTX was probably the newest thing that I can think of that really... But even that, we had ray tracing back in the goddamn 90s. It just was minutes per ray, and not in real time at 120 FPS. But it's the same technology. We just do it faster. But we're pumping... There's video cards out there. You pump 600 watts into them.
Yeah.
Silicon is a function of power in and speed comes out the other side.
You just feed wheelbarrows of rainforest directly into the back of your computer.
But it just got better and faster, but it didn't get new.
Yeah.
You know?
They're not doing anything different.
What's the newest thing that you have a computer that you can think of on a computer that it does? That you actually use?
I honestly don't know. Like, the default go-to answer for any rando off the street right now would be AI, by which they mean LLMs, by which they mean Markov chains that have a whole bunch of extra nodes.
I was going to say, like, oh, you mean really, really fast Markov chains?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a predictive engine. It's just a predictive engine that has much longer context windows to work with.
Yeah.
And it's like you said about the graphics and everything. It's the same thing we've been doing, just more of it faster. But they found a way to dress it up.
Yeah.
I think
we're going to see a resurgence in physical newness.
Yeah.
Not software newness.
I'm kind of hopeful. I do have to say, though, the more I think about it, like, generative image models is probably the most recent new thing. And that was a decade ago, a decade and a half ago. It's gotten fast enough to make it semi-practical for people to use, and they're always using it. But all these generative image models are GANs, and all the way back to Google Deep Dream being one of the first ones. Like, it all stemmed out of that project. And the way it works, here's your 5-minute tech tutorial. They have image classifiers, and those image classifiers have neural networks that are trained by a whole lot of people tagging a whole lot of images. This is a picture with a dog in it. This is a picture that doesn't have a dog in it. You know, when you do CAPTCHAs to identify traffic lights and you have to mark which part of the picture they're in? That kind of stuff. People built a huge library of that information, and a computer figured out how to transform it into a model it could use to predict if an image had a dog in it and where the dog was. Google took this and spun it on its head and said, I have an idea. We're going to generate just a field of random noise, like TV static. And we are going to see if it looks like it has a dog in it or not. We'll generate 10 of them, 100 of them, 1,000 of them. And we'll try to figure out what they have in common, which one's closer to having a dog and which one's further from having a dog. And we'll take those adaptations and we'll continue them. We'll do those adaptations again and see if it looks more like we have a dog now. And if they do that enough, they end up with an image that looks relatively convincingly like a dog. And that's how AI works. When you're doing generative AI images through Night Cafe or Dolly, or I don't even know what people are using nowadays. All that generative image stuff is we took noise and blew on it until it ended up looking like a dog. And by dog, it's whatever you typed in the prompt.
Well, that's specifically Stable Diffusion. That's the noise blending one. The other image one does it differently, but yeah, it effectively, yeah.
The premise is the same. They take something that isn't your image and they adjust it until it matches your criteria within the computer's margin of error.
So it's 1,000 infinite monkeys mashing bits until the picture looks like a dog.
It's a Markov chain of HSL values. Yes, exactly. And when you have that mental model of how it works under the hood, you know, I've heard people throw around the phrase, and it still turns my stomach a little bit, prompt engineer. I'm really good at knowing which magic words to type into the box to get the expected result out. I am a prompt engineer.
It's like being a Google expert. It's like, oh, I know how to Google. I'm a research expert. I know how to Google things. Like, yeah, so does everybody else. Like, it's just, but then you realize, no, that's a thing not everybody has. Like, I'm not smart. I just know how to Google quicker than you.
Yeah. That's what
Back when I started at ITT, I'd want to just like, how do you know this? Like, I just know how to Google things.
Yeah.
If I don't know something, I just go and look for it. immediately. If I spend longer than 15 seconds thinking about a thing, no, I'll go and look it up, and then I know it.
So I wrote a tool, to nobody's surprise. As I've been working on the sushi game, I need some test data. So I wrote a script to generate me a pile of test data, which eventually we can turn into the editor and the data generator and all of that whatnot.
Okay.
And for the test data, I used one of those tools, specifically ChatGPT. I said, hey, here's my JSON schema. Here's a list of things. Generate some stats about these things. Tell me if that sounds familiar. Didn't we do that for Alchematic?
Oh, yes.
Yes,
we do need to go back through that.
Yes, we absolutely do. I have thoughts on that too. I want to come back to. I think 6 would be a good fit for the art on that one.
Probably.
Also, I just want to hire 6 and throw piles of money at her. But I digress. The point is, it's very well suited for that task because it's not really doing anything creative. I don't want to do anything creative. I want to make the machine do the machine work. I want to do the people work. But then I wrote my tool to go through and generate all the card images because, and this ties full circle back to I'm learning to use Godot. I grabbed an add-on from the Godot asset library to handle cards. It's got predefined classes for a deck and a hand, and it's got a card manager class, and it's got all that happy jazz in it. The way it's currently built, it expects that you have a face image as a static image for each card.
Okay.
So I made all the base pieces that would go on a trading card, a border to indicate the rarity, and a box where the name goes, and I have sprites to put the images on there, and I have little icons for your stats, and it only puts your stat icons on if you have the blah, 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 blah. And the script generates those as static images. But elsewhere in the game, I'm generating the card images dynamically. Because elsewhere in the game, if you hover over a character, it shows you the way it functions is each character has hunger levels. There are like 6 different things, spicy, salty, sweet, whatever. And they have a hunger for 3 sweet, 2 salty.
Okay.
I show on the static image that I generated what that character's hunger is. When they go into the restaurant, they want 3 sweet, 2 salty. But I need to generate dynamically when you hover over them in the restaurant as they're eating. I've eaten 2 sweet and 2 salty. I want 1 more sweet. Here are the empty ones. Here's the full one that I still need. So I know how to generate them dynamically in Godot. I need to go back and figure out how this card library works so I can generate them on the fly instead of having to generate all the card images up front. You know. And the other thing I get to do is I'm learning not how to write. I'm learning how to use shaders. I am scared of learning to write shaders. But there are some things that I would like to do that will require shaders in one way or another.
You want holofoils, don't you?
Not only do I want holofoils, I want Balatro cards.
Oh God!
I want the card to face your mouse, but only if you're over it. It's flat if you're not. But I want it to tilt.
Polygon transform.
Yes, but you do that in 3D, and 3D and 2D are separate in Godot, and I have to stack a 3D object with a 2D object inside of it, inside another 2D object, and
You know what's dumb? You can do that in CSS.
Yeah. Yeah, you absolutely can.
There's a transform for a 3D polygonal, like trapezoidal deform, which is how they do like those panels where they like shift, basically
Yep.
but like what it'll get one size smaller like that, so it actually like parallaxes out slightly, and you can do that.
They have 0 sugar guarana.
Huh?
I'll save you one.
Should I bring you some of the totally not ecto-cooler ectoplasm energy drinks?
I would absolutely love one. Yes. Yes, I would. Also, welcome. Happy Wednesday to you. Yeah, no, I'm not trying to rip off Blardo wholesale, except maybe a little bit. I like the way the cards feel in Balatro. I don't want to steal the whole Balatro mechanic, but there's some good feelings in the UI that I'm not above copying.
I mean, it's, Shoulder of Giants, imitation, blah, blah.
Yeah, and we take pieces of inspiration from everywhere, Like this totally original quote that I thought of all by myself. Good artists copy, great artists steal.
God, that's such a good movie.
But yeah, I'm not planning on this being the final thing. If it ends up getting cleaned up into the final thing, cool deal. I'm all right with that. If it ends up getting thrown away and built from the ground up, cool deal. I'm all right with that. I know what I'm doing by the end of this. But the more time I spend with it, the more I seem like I'm hitting that fun point. I need to wrap a few more things in it to get... The mechanic is a loop inside another loop. I need to write that outer loop. Because the inner loop is neat, but there's no sense of progression. The outer loop is where all the progression happens. And that's one of the next things I want to do. But I keep getting caught up in the little details because I want to learn how to do that specific part of it. And it's not a problem, because this really is a learning experience that may turn into a project. At least that's what I keep trying to remind myself. But it's going to end up being Let's Cafe. It's going to end up being Let's Cafe, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm accidentally going to write the whole thing bass backwards and jank and be like, guys, come help me fix this. But I'm hopeful that you will.
Well, it's slightly easier to do that now because, love it or hate it, we have better technology now.
Yeah.
We can delicately apply, like you said, have the machines do the machine work. I can take it and I can have it figure, here's this function, explain what the hell you're trying to do, make some documentation.
Yeah.
Flesh this out, make his variable names. I can guide the AI tools over your code and find the problems easier.
Yeah. And that is another one of those great uses is Copilot, ChatGPT, LLMs in general are great for analyzing code. They're not always right. They're great for generating code. The code's not always right.
You tend to use Copilot directly in VS Code, right?
Yes.
You don't actually go out to ChatGPT and do stuff, right?
Not usually, but Copilot now has a chat panel available that's more than just completions.
Okay. Have you asked ChatGPT specifically to write code recently?
No, I have not.
They changed the interface. Rather than it just print out a pre-block in the thing, it flips over to a whole different interface, and there's like a side panel with an actual fucking whatever the word for a WYSIWYG editor for
Yeah.
code,
Yeah.
like with line numbers, is a code interface. It says, okay, we're going to write this over here in code land, and not just we're having a chat. And it says, okay, we're going to go over here, and then a few lines, but it pops open a code editor and puts it in there, so it's not reprinting huge code blocks in the stream.
Yeah.
And you can make live edits to it, and as you do it, you see it like updating memory, so you can just make those small tweaks and not like have to go back and change it and stuff. But it's a full function code editor better.
I also got into the preview for Claude, and I am very excited to try that out. Jackson referred me, and I went and signed up just to see if I'd get in the beta, which I was sure I would. They're not going to keep that closed off. They have the potential to charge money for blah, 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 blah. But I want to see how that works in the context of what we tend to do.
Yeah.
One of the problems I have. Let me tell you about a related problem I have while I'm just kvetching. I've got 5 minutes left here before we're going to take our commercial break. Do you know what it's not good at? Knowing things that happened after the model was built. Like the updates to the data pack format for Minecraft 1.21.4. They made broad sweeping changes to the JSON schema for Minecraft data packs in 1.21.4.
Find out if the model you have has internet access, and if you can find a good, reliable documentation source and say, go read this. This is the updated spec for it. And it will, within your context, have an idea about that. Some of the models do have, you can feed it a new thing and it will go and read it, and you can feed it updated. You know, here what can you tell me about React 19? Oh, I don't know, because I exist 3 years ago and it hasn't come out yet. It's like, oh, here's the documentation site. Can you read this and figure this out? Oh yeah, here's the problem. I know that now.
I will have to do that.
There's a thing they added in CSS, like with nested variables, which is what people, honestly, 90% of what people were using Sass for is I want to write nested shit and not inside of A, I have a B. Compile that into A plus B, but let me put a B inside of an A and not an A and a B. So you can do that. People did that with Sass. CSS just supports that natively now.
Yeah.
But GPT is like, or even Copilot's like, that's wrong. You can't do that. And I'm like, you can as of earlier. It's like, oh yeah, you are right. They did add that. I'll stop adjust. It's like, God, but it keeps, every time I open a new context, it's like,
yeah,
you can't nest it like that. I'm like, yeah, you can. Stop doing it the old way.
As far as like SME in a box, I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but it's going to take a while. And the thing is that anything like that will have to be built in sections. And you know what we're going to end up with?
That's the agentic workflow, basically.
We're going to end up with multiple layers of adversarial networks.
Yeah.
You know, because just the raw code generation itself is a model of almost an adversarial network. But we're going to have to abstract that up one level and have, you know, the code generation and the result as a product, as a whole new adversarial model for generation.
Jay, are we going to have gray goo cockfights?
Yes. That's what this is turning into. That is 100% what it's turning into.
Oh my God.
But one of the things that I want to write is a set of tools for generating Minecraft stuff where I can give you direct control over everything. I can expose every parameter in the JSON schema with a nice, pretty editor. You want a slider that adjusts between 0 and 1? Fine. If that's for terrain roughness, okay, whatever. But I want to add levels of abstraction away from that, where I can go in and not ChatGPT style. I don't know. I don't care. But in some way, I want to be able to expose to you a way to say, I want a whole world where everything's kind of bluish. It's not very hilly. It's got a ton of foliage, but never any orange trees. And I want to have a set of very vague descriptors or adjusters or whatnot that go in and populate all the nitty gritty. Okay, I'm generating all the relevant biomes and biome types. I'm placing all the spawners. I'm picking appropriate structures. I'm generating a dimension type that includes all the dimensions, all the biomes. I'm generating a dimension that is of that dimension type. With it using your stuff as guidance for that, but then it'll go in and just populate in stuff within a range within a range, if you will. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Rose. Happy Wednesday. Yeah. It's something I want, honestly, for myself, because I've been working on this whole questline data pack thing, and having to manually generate this stuff is gross. Because there's a lot of it where it's like, I don't care what the value of that is. There's a lot of things I want not to have to care. And I don't have any tooling that puts in a sane default. I can either copy something existing and adjust the things I want, or I can manually populate everything myself.
Import from Ubuntu base.
Yeah. No, it's grody. If you wish to make an apple pie from scratch. All right, I think it's about time to take us a little bathroom break, so I am going to get the music going again. We're going to take about 5, run an ad real quick. Don't you go anywhere, aside from maybe to the bathroom and freshen up your drink. Go take a few-minute break and then come right back. We will be back in about 5 minutes. Thank you for being here with us. Where's my button? Hello and welcome back to the Blue House Bull Session. Glad to be back here bulling with you. It's been a little bit. What can I say? I got distracted for 4 weeks. You know how it goes. Back as always, joined by my best friend and dear co-host Uber Fuzzy. Howdy.
Wait, has it?
Pretty close.
Did we not do one in February?
I think we did one the first week of February.
Oh.
And then we missed like the rest of the month. But that's all right. It's all good. I'm just glad to have a chance to talk to you, man.
I had some stuff.
Yeah. That's not a football card, by the way, for folks in the audience.
No, my grandfather passed back on the 18th. So I had... Oh, yeah, that's what it was. We had podcasts the first week.
And then we missed the week after that for schedule reasons, and the week after that...
Because I was going over to see him when he came home from the hospital. I was going over there every couple days and spent Wednesday over there with him before work, and then the next week was the funeral, which...
Can we tell the story about that? Where was the funeral? And when was the funeral? And why are those things connected?
My aunt, my grandfather's daughter, sent me a text message letting me know that they're making the arrangements for the funeral and that the information will be posted up on the Bosch website, which is the funeral home, the funeral service, and service will be held at sunset. Now, it's one of those specific things. First of all, this is where my family does their funeral stuff at, because this is where my grandmother, who passed just a couple years ago, was in the same spot. What I read that as is that it'll be at Bosch and it'll be on their website, and maybe services will be held at sunset, because that's the time people gather and do things and reflect, and golden hour and all that, last sunset on an era, blah, blah. That makes sense, right? Right? Sunset is a time. If you say it will be here and services will be at sunset, period, full stop, end of text message. What she meant was they will be at the Sunset, I don't remember what that
Memorial Plaza Hall
building, which is the gathering place next to the Sunset Fields actual cemetery. If she said, and funerals will be held at Clegg, like, I would know, she meant at Clegg Road, where their church was, where they went. Right. She just used a word that is ambiguous to mean a time after you already said, and that funeral service will be on the Bosch website, and services and the funeral services will be held at the Bosch building.
Right. That's the implication, yeah.
So I had assumed that this stuff was going to happen later in the day, which would be fine, because I could actually get some sleep that morning and get up and go there and on all this. And one of the things that sucks about working overnight across, when the date changes while you're still at work, all hell breaks loose, because you lose track of days, because days don't happen in a cycle anymore. It's like that weird thing where you take a nap in the middle of the day and you're like, my brain is as partitioned as, like, I have had 8 days this week and my brain is broken, Yeah. So on Tuesday, I read this and I'm like, and I'm clicking through, and my brother had posted an obit on Facebook, and I was randomly on Facebook, which I don't really go on there that much, and I click on it and I'm reading it, and now that I'm reading it in full text on the Bosch website, and it says, oh, and services will be at 10, a viewing period from 10 to 11, and then, with services, services actually happening at 11 at the Sunset Temple building. And I'm like, oh, location, not time. It's going to be in the morning. Oh, crap. What time is it? Oh, crap. It's like 10:25. It's like, okay, they're still just doing the meet and greet services. Like, okay, I can like throw some clothes on. I can get there in 20 minutes before the services. So I'm not like running at the last minute for, the long speech part of it. And I'm like going and going, going. I'm getting in the car. I'm just like throwing stuff and I'm driving there. And then I'm not very awake because it is effectively 10 p.m. for me. I should be going to bed. And I had this moment of realizing as I'm operating a car. I'm like, wait.
Do I have pants on?
No.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, oh crap, I don't know if was it actually today? No, they would have said, hey, where are you coming? Are you going to make it? And I'm like, oh, it's Charlie. No, that was the next day because that's that thing. Because then the podcast, there's there's fragments of 2 different days. And I'm like, okay, I've got to pull off the side of the road because I'm not fully awake and I'm operating a car. I shouldn't also be operating a phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to risk being late and I'm going to pull off and I'm going to double check that it's on the right day. And I'm like, they're like, oh, services will be on Wednesday. And I'm like, I am not confident in what day that I have any idea what day of the week it is right now. And I'm like, hey Siri, what day of the week is it? She's like, you dumb fuck, it's Tuesday. And I'm like, I can go home and go to bed. Sorry, I don't understand. Oh, shut up.
She doesn't know what day it is either.
Yes, I got there all on time. But yes, that was...
We went back and forth in conversation about that because you'd mentioned a little bit of confusion, and then you showed me the message where it literally says services will be held at sunset. Well, and I'm like, that's a fucking time. That's not a place. And there's no time in that message.
Well, she didn't have the time yet. I was like, oh, well, we will, it will be right. Sunset Memorial Park.
Right. It's just the only word in there that could have been a time happened to be the name of a place without a qualifier to indicate that it was a place. Communication is difficult. Also, who the hell names a place you go at a scheduled time after a time?
Sunset Cemetery and Funeral Services.
It's naming your restaurant noon.
Hey, let's go meet up at noon.
Where? I just told you.
Who's on first?
You get like, and it's not
some
even,
fella.
It's not even it's not frustration with her at this point, especially because I know there was a lot going on, especially because I understand it was a hard time.
But the thing is this is where my grandmother was just buried there. And apparently a bunch of our family, like they have plots and stuff because they're from this area and they go there because it's just...
That's where the dead people live, yeah.
You want to talk about a sticky business? Oh man, you get into you get a family hooked on there and it's just generation after generation of you end up with people.
We don't know where else to put the corpses. We might as well go where everyone else that I know does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not me, man. If something ever happens to me, I want my remains to be scattered. Don't cremate me.
Smothered and covered? Oh my god. There's a video I saw. This guy had passed away. He was like a very avid skydiver, and his wishes were his ashes to be spread while skydiving, so they packed his loose ashes in a parachute pack, and his group did one of those like circle, not circle, but like ring thing where they all held it and they pulled the ripcord and the back opened and his ashes like flew out like where the parachute would go, and they're just like holding this bag, and it's just this like shit stain plume mushroom cloud of just ashes in the air as like a trail behind, like Nyan Cat of ashes behind them as they're falling. And it's just like not a little bit of ashes, it's like the full urn worth of bag in there, because it's just going and going and going and going, and they're like, oh god, it's gonna be sunny with a chance of Ben for like a week. They're spreading his ashes over like the tri-state area.
That's fantastic. Yes, that's too perfect. That is absolutely too perfect. I'm sorry if that's grim and morbid, but that's amazing. I love it.
That's
I don't know. I'm still mad at him for giving that place that name.
So how about this weather, huh?
Man, we were outside earlier. It was so nice until chunks of ice started to fall on me. Just like that, all at once. It was sunny, and then it turned into hail immediately.
It was nice a couple days ago, and I got out and I got half of a yard project done.
Yeah.
And then it got shitty again. I'm like, okay, it was just one random fluke nice day in April.
As we tend to have, yeah.
But then it like, oh wait, it's gonna be nice again. So I had my kid yesterday. I'm like, hey, let's not sit it, like it's still a little bit of light. Let's go up to the park and run around at the playground for a little while.
Yeah.
So we got out, we did that. I'm like, okay, one random fluke day, but it's gonna be cold. Like, I'm sitting there, and I had to do some errands this morning before I lay down and took a nap. I'm like, it's still nice out. I should go finish the rest of that project. I should also go like try to get my tires taken a look at.
Yeah.
Hey, life pro tip, people. Don't use metallic valve stem covers on your tires. There's a reason they're shitty plastic tips. Because you know what happens when you take a steel valve stem and you put an aluminum valve stem cover on it and you subject it to water and salt outside in the elements for 3 years? Galvanic corrosion.
Yeah.
And they fuse on there. There's this effect that happens that people in Northeast tend to know, that when it gets cold, your air tire pressure sensors go off for a little bit, because just the air constricts because of the cold and it sets off the sensor. Even though there's enough air, it's just like it fucks with it because air contracts. When it gets cold enough air, the air contracts and it sets off the sensors.
Yeah.
You know? And it was cold like that. And then it got warm and it went away. I'm like, okay, it's just like they're getting low, but like they're right on that edge, right? But then it got warm and it kept going off. I'm like, okay, I'll just go put some air in the tires. So I pull up to the machine and I'm like, I can't get my caps off. They're kind of stuck. I'm like, okay, let me get pliers out of the trunk. I can't get my caps off.
Mm-hmm.
So I come home and I spray with WD-40. I can't get my caps off. I had to go get a pair of I was trying to do with a pair of pliers, and I had a pair of channel locks in the trunk for some reason. And I couldn't do it. I've got pretty good grip strength, and I've got the arms from, lifting pallets of water for 6 hours at a time.
Yeah.
I could not get these tips off of my fucking valve stems.
They were just
I had to go get vice grips, like clamp lock-on ones to hold the thing, because I was spinning the valve stem in the tire. And then I had big, heavy-duty kill a puma to death, things, and I'm grabbing it, and I had to literally like I'm just forging steel to break that seal.
Yeah.
That's what I did today. I went up to Conrad's and I'm like, hey, I got a question. Are valve stems supposed to spin? Because I'm trying to get these off, and it's turning, and I don't know if I just broke my tire trying to get this off. And he's like, they can. The air pressure hold, like that thing is kind of like a funnel inside. It's fine. If you're not losing air, it's fine to, you know, if it breaks, we'll fix it. But like, can you help me? And like, they couldn't get it off. And he's like, okay, do you have two? I'm like, no. He's like, here, try these. And he goes and gets, the mechanics are trying it. And, you know, they also literally wrench on things. And they're like, I don't want to try harder because I might break it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to break your thing because then we're responsible. But here's these tools. If you do it and you break it, it's your fault. But then pull into bay 2 and we'll fix it.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm lucky this is a random nice day and I can like, we're just sitting in the parking lot doing this, and it moves. And I'm like, okay, there is hope. I didn't end up saving one, but I mauled. I was squeezing her. I literally I destroyed that aluminum cap on there. And he's like, yeah, there's a reason they use plastic ones.
Yeah.
Especially in Ohio, in salty areas for this reason. I'm like, well, the only ones I have right now are the other 4 that came in this bag of 8 that I got on like Ali Timu like 4 years ago. He's like, they're fine for now. Get some plastic ones as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Don't leave them on there for like, 6 years. You'll be fine. And we managed to get now that I knew what I was doing, I got the other ones off and I got tire in there. My one tire was actually empty. It was at 24, which is less than 35.
Yes, that is significantly so. I will also say next time I see you, if you remind me, I have plastic caps I can give you.
Okay.
I bought a bag of them because I was going to make the dice ones and I never got around to it. But I was going to embed the cap in the resin molded.
Yeah.
So I still have the caps.
Yeah, I don't know why I had blue aluminum anodized ones.
They happen to be what you had available at the time, is my guess.
Somebody gave them to me as a Christmas birthday gift.
Yeah. Because
I had blue ones in the past on my Sable.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I forgot to take them off when I had it towed when I sold it. I forgot to take it off. And I was like, it's valve stem caps. I'm not gonna like worry, be like, oh, it's like how just a little touch of me on there. I like blue, so I, just a little subtle thing on there. And then somebody's like, hey, we knew you were sad about that. Here's a some sort of holiday gift, and they got me those because they were a couple bucks on Amazon or something, and I had them and I put them on 2 winters ago, and I haven't had to put air in my tires since then.
So they've just been sitting there, gradually becoming one with the
they're like, I have never seen that because people don't put metal ones on there for this reason.
I have learned a valuable lesson this day, you said.
Yes.
But I'm glad you were able to get everything in an functional state by the end of the day,
And as I did this, as I got the thing on there, the weather started to get dark.
Mm-hmm.
And then it started to rain and get cold. I'm like, oh, okay. I ran out of spring.
Your free trial has expired. Please upgrade. Oh, man.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, the weather's been very chewy recently. Not in a fun way. But we've been doing our best to hold on to it. Thank you very much for the resub. 33 months. Damn, dude. It's almost like I've known you for a little while or something. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Yeah, I will say that's the singular nice thing about not having a car right now is not having to maintain a car. For every problem, for every other problem it causes me, at least it minimizes the stress I have of the upkeep.
especially in this environment.
And gas is much cheaper when you're completely unable to go anywhere ever. I will say that. That's very true.
Yeah. But the money you're saving on gas, how much of that you're just immediately throwing at DoorDash or Instacart?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
it effectively balances out, you know.
Yeah, for the most part, it does. But yeah, it's the biggest complaint I have about it is there were a lot of things that. Okay, not a lot of things. There were craft shows. That's the complaint. End of story.
Yeah.
I haven't gone out and worked a craft show in a very long time because I don't have a good convenient way to get there. And you know what? I didn't make a whole lot of money doing them, but I made more than none. And now I am not making more than none. So I can't save that more than none and put it towards my car repairs. Oh, wait.
Although I wonder how the math would work out, especially if you rented a car, rented like a similar,
Yeah.
not SUV, but a hatchback, a not sedan.
A big mobile,
So you could take
yeah.
a table. Yes, you could take a table and boxes and not in a trunk, basically.
Yeah. And it's not out of the realm of possibility. I have to have a look at it and see what I can figure out because I'd like to get back into it. Speaking of which, one of our friends, Cheryl, you know Cheryl from Queen Size Designs, got approved to get her storefront opened for her custom clothing and alterations business. So she will be opening her own storefront, and in addition to that, she wants to stock some other related goods, kind of similar to the craft showy stuff. So she has asked me if I'm interested in contributing some inventory. As soon as I have details, I am going to advertise the hell out of it. You guys know that. I promote all the people I care about. But yeah, as that's coming together, that's some interesting news, and I will absolutely keep you all posted with developments as they development. But be excited, be preemptively excited for the opening of Queen Size Design's new retail location.
Interesting.
I'm hyped. I'm hella hyped. She's having one of those moments. You and I have talked about Goblin Tools before. Goblin.tools. If you guys haven't heard about it, I'm linking it in the chat. Goblin.tools. Yes.
I've only ever used the app.
It's a
website.
It is a website first and foremost. The app is there to support the website.
Can you connect them somehow?
I think so, but I'm not sure. But the important and relevant point of this is one of the things they have is a task breakdown. You put in what you need to do and it'll do it. Or you can feed it a brain dump and it will turn it into an organized list. Or lots of other things that are helpful, especially for us neuroatypical folks. And open a store is a huge, daunting, insurmountable task.
Mm-hmm.
And she started to feel a little bit overwhelmed. And we were talking about this. And that's what brings me back to it. And what made me recommend it is the eating an elephant problem. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. All right, let's cut it into tiny little pieces. Here's some tools to help with that. It may not give you the right answers all the time. Like we were talking about before with any AI-backed tool, there's no guarantee that it's right. But it's so much easier to fix something that's not quite right, but close, than it is to generate it from scratch when you're sitting under the fire hose.
Mm-hmm.
So she has been making big use of that, and it's helped a lot. trying to figure out all the pieces of what needs to be done and all the mechanics, because I don't have answers to a lot of that stuff, you know? I like to know a little bit about everything, but I don't know what goes into opening a store. But you know what? The entirety of the internet 2 years ago does.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll ask them, you know, using the world's easiest search engine. But yes, she very much wants to stock Bell Book and candles. I'm like, I will give you the hookup. I will give you the hookup at hella discount rates. I want to make sure your lights stay open and your doors stay on. You know, when you're turning a healthy profit, then we'll worry about, like, how much should I be getting paid. In the meanwhile, I have these boxes of candles I'm too lazy to sell and too stupid to put on a website.
I'll help you mail the orders.
I need to evaluate how I want to do that. Etsy rates are kind of gross in general, but Etsy also provides a lot of other services which I'm too lazy to handle, like the shipping stuff.
Yeah.
You know? Or I could open my own Shopify site, and Shopify has plugins you can use to get your shipping, whatever. But, you know, that's a paid service. Also, you have to pay for Shopify in and of itself. Do I make enough money for that? No, it wouldn't break even then. No, if you want to... We have other things to discuss in that vein as far as you helping me mail orders. We have other things to discuss in that vein. But I digress. Point is, an online candle business is not the optimal way to go with it.
It's very much, especially for how cheap your products are, they're very much basically like impulse buy range.
Yeah.
They're not like, I am going to, what's that stupid candle place at the mall that's way too expensive, but always smells like
Yankee.
Yeah. You actively go to Yankee Candle to buy
the one scent you like. Yeah.
Right. Yours are, oh, hey, that's neat. This doesn't smell like horrible. Sure, here's a couple bucks and I'll put one in my bag of swag.
I have $6-7 extra bucks left in my pocket after walking around the rest of the craft show. Your table smells nice. Where's the nice smell coming from? Oh, it's this one. That smells like licorice and spearmint.
I took them all upstairs.
Aww.
But yours are more physical.
Yeah.
Sell, not online sell.
Yeah. And a big part of it is the like P.T. Barnum aspect of, if you're over near my table, I'm going to encourage you to smell them. And when you're holding it in your hand and you smell it, you know right away if you want it or not.
Candles are not something you buy for the first time over the internet. You buy refills over the internet. Yeah. I know what this is. I'm going to buy it again online.
Yeah, exactly.
It reminds me a lot about like Lisa's robots. That's a horrible business to sell over the internet. Because for one thing, shipping those is just insane, you know, but like, oh, if that's on the table and I can pick it up, yes, that is cute. I will buy it because I physically have my hand on. I don't want to set it back down here. It's money for it.
Yeah,
but
she's also got an advantage in a similar way though. Once you have one of her, I don't know anyone that has one of her robots.
How many can I see from here? Like, I see at least 6.
Yeah.
And I know I have a shopping bag of them over there and I just never put back up.
Yeah. I don't know anyone that has one of her robots at all. They're super cute. They're small enough that they fit anywhere, but big enough that they're worth looking at.
Mm-hmm.
I should put up another shelf behind me over there on that side. Put my robots on it.
Did I bring you the white shells with the corbels?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
I have those, and I have the clear IKEA one as well. I
Okay.
haven't put those up. I put the contact shelves up first, the 3M ones, but I haven't
Yeah.
put those up yet. But they are going on this wall behind me as well. And my Raspberry Pi with the display screen is going back up there.
Yay!
I haven't decided for sure what I want to have it display, but I'm going to have it on the network so I can just change what it displays at any time.
A rotating QR code.
Absolutely. I'll put my hashtag not sponsored rotator on the thing behind me so I can have that, 300 by 400 block of my screen back. The one right up here. The one right up here? Yeah. What if that was on that wall behind me?
I don't even have it up. I don't even know where we're at.
Nah, same. Big same. Ow. Did you hear a new interesting piece of news in Jiggy Land? Which, by the way, I'm just going to tell you right now, after we finish, we're going to go raid Jiggy.
No.
He's doing his contest today for PAX East tickets, and I'm going to try and enter because I'd really like to go to PAX East this year.
Okay.
So that I can see Game Court live.
Game Court? What is that?
Game
Tell
Court.
us about Game Court, Jason.
Game Court got accepted to PAX East. He is unbelievably hyped for it. It's his hot take show that I've been working on the back end technology for it and everything. By the way, the thing we were talking about got resolved. In a good way.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
People are sane. It was good.
Okay.
Yeah. It
I guess I won't drink any more of that tea.
okay. Yeah. No, we're good. Everybody's good. That is more than anything else what I wanted is to make sure everyone ended up good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been told if I get a ticket and I can get there, there's a hotel room that they are willing to share with me. I have been told that. So if there's a hotel room there and I win a ticket in a contest, all I have to do is hitchhike to Boston and we're good. And then I can go see Game Court live, in action, in person, and take copious notes so I know what else to fix for next time. I wonder how many of them he's going to have to do before I can badger him to sell shirts, though.
Well, can I suggest starting with password protecting your goddamn admin board?
That is fixed. It is not in the container online right now.
Okay.
That is fixed in the repo. I just have not deployed it.
Just saying.
No, we have... I had a plan for how I wanted to do it, but it was in some ways dependent on how he was going to handle other parts of things. I needed to know who would need access. We are now at a point where I can say, this is how you give someone access. But yeah. He has other notes for me as well, so I am eager to hear about those. Did you see what that madman, just because I enjoy chatting about Jiggy, did you see what that madman did yesterday?
No.
Yesterday he was doing a crowd control day, trying to make Crowd Control Pro pay for itself, which he does.
Mm-hmm.
He does. He's got partnership through them and everything. He was going to play Pal World with Crowd Control, which he did eventually. But
oh, Lord.
Pal World, as much as they've changed a bunch of things, hasn't really gotten any better. It's just gotten less bad, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So he opened the show with the newest game to have crowd control support. Put the sausage in the bun. Yes, it's I am bread, but a hot dog instead.
Okay. That's just
You
making sure that's
you attach balloons and bees to a hot dog and try to guide it into a hot dog bun. Or cut it in half and put it in the soup. Or serve it next to the glass of wine. Or it's one of those Goonie physics games. And holy Lord, it absolutely was one of those where I'm like, why didn't we do this? You know what I mean? I don't want to be the shovelware company, but put the sausage in the bun is exactly the kind of game I can see us making. Because it's not race to the bottom shovelware, it's here's a joke that caught on shovelware. Maybe not shovelware, bucketware. I'm intentionally producing a thing of known medium quality in an ironic fashion to gather attention. But to see the way crowd control worked, and it was pretty fantastic. Do you know the biggest thing I noticed about it? There was not a lot of effect options that would help the player. Crowd control tends to be pretty split in my experience. Like most games have help and harm the player.
Mhm.
There weren't, like, the closest they had to a help the player effect is slow motion. Bless you. Sarge says hello and also sneezes. There were a ton of things that would hurt the player, but not many that would help the player. But there was one that is floppy sausage, and it may be the funniest thing I've ever seen. You think of a hot dog's pretty firm, right? It's solid, it stays in a tube. The way their physics
Yeah.
model is set up, that's a bone model, and the tension there keeps it in fairly hot dog shape. It's a little wiggly so that it behaves like a hot dog that's made out of meat that can wiggle a little. Floppy sausage turns down the tension between the joints in the hot dog model and makes it a floppy sausage. And I was just dying of laughter, throwing all my free coins at him yesterday. It was magnificent. It is the perfect game for him to play with crowd control on his stream. Especially when he's in that, like, I am yelling at everything persona. You know what I mean? Oh, look how wacky it is. Oh, goodness, what can I do? I think I have the pro strategy. I'm going to put the hot dog onto the bun and then flip everything over. Oh, my. Hey, 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 kids. And he does that so well. That's one of the few times when, like, he really gets into a persona, though. That's not just like him as a default human being. There are aspects of that to him, yes, but that's not like who he always is. That is a character he has.
He's hamming it up for the
Yeah.
camera. He's being an entertaining host personality,
Yeah.
not just human sitting in front of camera and also video game.
But he does that particular one alarmingly well.
Yeah.
The lovable buffoon. That's really what it is. It's the lovable buffoon.
Lovable.
I didn't say likable.
True.
I do like the guy. I love the man like a brother. He is a genuinely good human being. I want to make sure I say that out loud and clarify. He is
Allegedly.
a very dear friend of mine and a good person. He really is a good person.
Allegedly.
He's got a new bit on Mondays. I've missed it the past couple because we usually do dinner on Mondays. But him and Campy and MC have a new show that they've been doing collaboratively on Mondays. They do like a tier list show now.
Oh.
Wheel of Tears. They did Zelda for the first week and Marvel for the second. And I went back and watched, and I'm like, man, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Hi, kitten.
Interesting.
Sarge's here hanging out. She's such a sweetheart.
I learned an interesting fact the other day, and your
Oh,
talk of floppy sausage bones reminded me.
go on.
The trailer for the new Shrek. Have you seen it? Everybody flipping out about it.
I've seen the furor about it, but I haven't seen the actual trailer itself.
We won't get into that, but you ready to feel old? Shrek 1 was long enough ago in the technology sense. None of those characters had spines.
Yeah.
They were full rigid bodies that only moved really at the elbows. They animated at the elbows. Anytime somebody had to raise their shoulders, they were manually positioned. The software could only move at, it could not do this. It could move this, but it could not do this. And none of them could bend because none of them had spines. That's how old and stuff that was.
It's scary, ain't it?
Yeah. I watched this whole documentary about going over like how they even pulled some of that off, and like the Monsters Inc. and the Incredibles 1 technology, and they look at it now and they're like, honestly, looking back compared to the tools and power we have today, we shouldn't have been able to make movies like that when we did. It was seriously like, Apollo go to the moon levels of like, this shouldn't work.
Hi,
Like,
we missed you too.
We don't know how we did this, and there's a reason we didn't do it again. Is this just shouldn't, like, this was an affront of God level of technology.
We accidentally succeeded, and now we're afraid to try it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that. Yeah, I guess that was, it really was. And speaking of feeling old, do you want to feel even older than that? Remember that All Star was not a new song for that movie.
I know.
I heard someone say, probably in some bullshit Tumblr post, the best descriptor of the song Uptown Funk, Bruno Mars, is that if it had come out 20 years earlier, it would have been in Shrek. That's the kind of song it is. And it's true. I can see it. I can see the dance sequence with all of the Lord Farquaad's kingdom, Tell me you can't, like, envision that so vividly.
The thing is his hits came out just far enough apart, too. You could see just, like, whatever the newest, hottest Bruno Mars song being in the next Shrek.
Yeah.
Just there's an All-Star by Bruno Mars as a title song in each Shrek movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uptown Funk in one, and the I don't feel like doing anything.
The lazy song.
Yeah. But like, it just.
Yeah, no, 100%. I just
that
like Donkey doing the risky business where he slides in his socks. That's in there. That's in there. It would just be too perfect. It would absolutely be too perfect. Man, oh man. I'm interested. I'm nervous because of what I have seen about the animation style. And this is going to sound dumb. It is not that the animation style itself bothers me. But it is a canary to me of what they will be willing to do with the storyline. If they are filing off the rough edges toward a specific model, I am worried they will do the same with the story.
It's not that they're filing off rough edges is that they're sanding it at all.
Yeah.
The Shrek's up and before that had a too high value on the Uncanny Valley because of the fact that they were made in that very uncanny Disney style, and that's what they were making parody of.
Yeah.
So that's what they were rendered very realistically, and it was, very modern Disney, like, because they were supposed to be modeled after people, but they happen to be very animated characters. You look at Shrek and you can see Mike Myers' face in there. It's not just mocap. Like, if you look at it, like, oh, there's a reason it animates well. It's like, that's just how he moves, and like it works like that.
That's what he looked like, yeah.
Right. But the problem with the new one is they look like cartoon characters now.
Yeah.
The distance between the eyes and the shape of the face, and they're more rounded and they look like cartoons now, opposed to they happen to be on 3D on a 2D format animated, trolls or ogre, not troll. Sorry, don't want to be offensive, but
dude, are you fantasy racist?
Oh man, there was a whole thing about that, like with the amount of it was a stem off of a topic of with the amount of races in D&D, and they all age into maturity at different rates, and they longevity.
Yeah.
It's like, when is a human is in adolescence, in the teens, and is basically an adult as soon as you hit the 20s. So what's the drinking age? Does a dwarf have to wait till they're like 50 to start drinking? What about an elf? They don't hit like their early 20s, mid stride until they're like at least 100. So there was a big joke of like, you go into a bar and they're like, race and culture, and they have to like look up what's the different drinking ages for each of them. They're like, well, with that many different races, like, look how much racism we have just within the human race between minor sub regions, not even different species. Like, could you imagine the levels of racism between dozens and dozens of races just mingling about within the D&D world? Like, it's got to be insane.
Absolutely terrifying.
And elves are just racist to everybody.
Well, that's because they're better than everyone, as they've demonstrated time and time again. Right? That's how elves work.
Someone brought up a really good point, that the way we have pets and they don't last as long as us.
Elves and humans.
We can, yeah. And it's, from the point of view of a dog, humans are basically elves.
Yeah.
They've cared for this one elder, like they age super slow, but they do see them start to go gray and stuff, and they've cared for, my great grandparents and, generation after generation and all this. Basically, two dogs, we are elves.
That's a wild thought too, man.
Yeah, and you're like, oh crap, that puts in perspective so many like crazy friendships.
Yep. Absolutely does. Absolutely does. So, holographic trading cards that turn to face the mouse, which means I need to get a booster pack model and figure out the effect. And I think I know what I want to do. I'm going to pitch it. I know how dumb it is. I'm going to pitch it. It shakes and vibrates and starts to glow. And then it pops with confetti and it plays the horn noise. What's the name of that thing that you blow into and it unfurls and goes fwee? What is that thing named? Thank you, Google.
Party horn.
No, the party horn is just the cone.
No. A party horn, also known as a party blower or noisemaker, is a paper tube, the horn-like sound when blown and unfurls. I literally Googled, what is the party thing that goes fwee?
Okay. When I search party horn, I get the cones. I don't know if they have another separate name. I don't even know what's going on. But the point is, it should make that noise, and confetti should rain down.
Here.
And then you go through your cards, and you're like, oh, that's a common. Oh, that's a common. Oh, that one's holographic.
One of these.
Yeah.
There's even a sound effect on the page for you.
There's even a sound effect on the page for you. Why, yes. Yes, there is. That is exactly what... Anyway, yeah. How about that for your collectibles, your comestibles? When you open a booster pack, it makes
shaders that make it turn towards the mouse.
Yeah.
That means you're going to have a point of reference to where from the card to the mouse. And you can make it will have basically doing a line trace towards it, right?
Yeah.
You know what you could do? You could put googly eyes on them that move and track the mouse.
But only the holo cards. The holo cards come with googly eyes.
Yes.
Oh, my stars and garters. That's terrible, and I love it, and I think we have to do it now. I think we have to. We don't have a choice in the matter. The googly eyes are now mandatory. You heard it here first. The next big feature coming to Untitled Sushi Project is googly eyes on holographic cards. I like how I'm like Sushi Project, and then I'm like googly eyes on holographic trading cards, and it's like there's any connection there.
I have a whole bag of googly eyes like right around here too.
I've got one down with the crest stuff. We have piles of googly eyes. Between the two of us, we could Google the whole universe.
But like, I have little ones.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take them to work, and I'm gonna wait until the next new person gets hired, and after they've been there about a week, then start putting them around.
You're awful. I love it, but you're awful. That's just downright amazing.
They put labels on all of the hand cards.
Yeah.
That says, pull, capital letters, don't push. Thank you. On a label going vertically. I'll send you a picture one tonight. I'm wondering, if I sit down with my label maker, and I gotta like make sure I match the font and the border and stuff, how subtly could I change those words before they wouldn't notice? As long as I did lowercase, couple bold letters, and then in lowercase, could I just rename them? Just change those labels out and not have it, because nobody reads them. We all push the cards. You know, I'm sorry. I can push two of them. I can steer two of them in parallel better than somebody can pull one of them. Because I can't pulling it behind me. I can't see what it's doing. Let me push it, and I can steer it and spin it and do slalom and move exactly perfectly park them.
But you can't see through it. What if you hit a child while there are no children in the store?
I work at night. There's 4 of us, and I'm 2.5 of them.
True.
If I hit another person, it's like when the first 2 cars existed in Ohio and they got in a car crash.
Yeah. 20 miles an hour, 75 fatalities, mostly from people fainting on the scene and cracking their heads on the pavement. Like that surgery. Here, we're going to be wrapping in a minute, so I'll leave you on the note of the surgery. The worst surgery ever. Do you know about the worst surgery ever?
No.
It was a Civil War amputation. The patient died. The assistant got cut bad enough that he died. The surgeon cut himself, got an infection, and died. And 2 people passed out watching the surgery and died. It had like
500% mortality.
500% mortality rate on this single operation.
Yep.
Thank you, modern medicine, for not being worse than literally no medicine at all. All right, I think that is about time for us. We're going to go Ray Jiggy. Make sure you enter his contest. Win yourself some PAX East tickets. Go see Game Court Live. Don't win all of them, though, because I need a set. Also, make sure you are in the Discord. Join our Discord. Plum juice. I could go for one of those. Join our Discord to make sure you kept appraised the changes, all of that, whatnot. Go shout our raid call. Go do what you need to do. But we're going to set up our raid there. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we will catch you next time around on the Blue House Bowl session. The elegant plums. Love you too.